The lawyer's words hit me at 2:47 p.m. on a Wednesday. Your father left you everything. I stared at the mahogany desk, my hands trembling. 17 years. That's how long it had been since Dad walked out for his new wife and her 2 perfect daughters. The worst part wasn't that he'd abandoned me, it was that Jennifer, his beloved stepdaughter, was sitting 3 chairs away, her face drained of colour, realising she'd gotten nothing. Let me take you back to where this started. I was 12 years old, sitting on our front porch in suburban Michigan, watching Dad load boxes into his Mercedes. It was a Saturday morning in June, and the smell of fresh-cut grass hung in the air. "Daddy, where are you going?" He didn't look at me, just kept stacking boxes. "Emma, your mother and we're not working out. I need space to think." But space turned out to be a 4-bedroom colonial 15 minutes away, with Patricia and her daughters, Jennifer 14 and Rachel 10. Within 3 months, he'd moved in completely. Within 6 months, they were married at some vineyard I wasn't invited to. I found out from a Facebook post. The rejection was systematic, methodical. Dad started missing my soccer games, all 12 of them that season. He forgot my 13th birthday entirely. When I called him that night, voice shaking, Patricia answered, "Your father's at Jennifer's piano recital, sweetheart. He'll call you back." He never did. The next 5 years crystallized into a pattern I can still recite like a prayer. Christmas with his new family. I got a card with a $50 bill. Jennifer got a car. Spring break in Cancun. They went. I stayed with Mum, who worked double shifts to keep our lights on. My high school graduation. Dad showed up 20 minutes late, left during the reception because Jennifer had a college tour. Jennifer. Everything orbited around Jennifer. She was the golden child, captain of the debate team, straight A's, early admission to Northwestern. Patricia made sure everyone knew it. At the few obligatory dinners I was invited to, the conversation flowed like rehearsed theatre. Jennifer got another scholarship offer. Jennifer's interning at a law firm this summer. Jennifer's been accepted to a leadership conference in DC. I'd sit there, pushing pasta around my plate, invisible. Once, I tried to mention I'd been accepted to University of Michigan. Mum was so proud. It was all we could afford, but I'd gotten in on my own merit. Patricia smiled that tight smile. "That's nice, Emma. Jennifer's deciding between Harvard and Yale." Dad nodded, cutting his steak. "Those are tough choices." He never asked about my choice, never asked about anything. I stopped trying when I was 17. It was Thanksgiving, the one holiday Mum insisted I spend with Dad for family. I drove myself to their house, a pumpkin pie Mom had baked on the passenger seat. The door was unlocked. I walked in to find them taking family photos by the fireplace. Professional photographer, matching outfits, burgundy and cream. Dad in a sweater I'd never seen. Patricia and her daughters laughing, posing, perfect. Nobody had told me about the photos. "Oh, Emma!" Patricia's voice was a honey-coated surprise. "We didn't think you were coming until dinner." The photographer started packing up. I stood there in my jeans and Michigan hoodie, holding that pie, feeling like I'd crashed someone else's family gathering. Because I had. That night, I made a decision. I stopped calling, stopped showing up, stopped breaking my own heart, waiting for a father who'd already chosen his replacement daughter. The rejection hurt less when I controlled it. College became my escape. The University of Michigan welcomed me in ways Dad never had. I studied economics, worked 2 campus jobs, graduated with honors. Mom came to every event, front row, camera ready. Dad's seat stayed empty. I built a life he knew nothing about. got my MBA, landed a job at a consulting firm in Chicago, met Marcus, who became my best friend, then my fiancé. I was 28 when Marcus proposed on the Navy Pier, the city lights reflecting off the water. I didn't invite Dad to the engagement party, but life has a way of catching up. 2 years ago, Mum called me at work. Her voice was strained. "Emma, honey, your father's sick. It's cancer, stage 4. The floor seemed to tilt. I hadn't spoken to Dad in over a decade, but the news hit like a physical blow. "How long?" "6 months, maybe. He wants to see you." I should have felt something, sadness, anger, urgency. Instead, I felt numb. "I'll think about it." 3 days later, I drove to their house. The colonial looked the same: manicured lawn, expensive cars, success on display. Patricia answered the door, older now, her smile less certain. "Emma, thank you for coming. He's upstairs." Dad had lost weight. The room smelled like antiseptic and something else, decay maybe, or just time running out. He was sitting in an armchair by the window, a blanket over his lap despite the summer heat. "Emma." His voice was smaller than I remembered. "Dad." We stared at each other across 17 years of silence. He looked like a stranger, this sick, frail man who'd once carried me on his shoulders, who'd taught me to ride a bike, who'd promised he'd always be there. Until he wasn't. "I'm sorry," he said finally. "For everything. I handled the divorce wrong. I handled you wrong." The apology sat between us like a foreign object. I wanted to scream, to list every missed birthday, every broken promise, every time Jennifer got what should have been mine. But what was the point? "Okay," I said. "I'd like to make it right. I'm updating my will, making sure you're taken care of." Something in his phrasing snagged. "Taken care of?" "A fair inheritance. You deserve that much." Not "I love you," not "I want you in my life," just financial obligation, paid in death. I visited him 4 more times over the next months. Duty visits, really. We made small talk about the weather and work. He asked about Marcus. Never met him. Never asked to. Dad died on a Tuesday morning in October. Patricia called. He went peacefully. The funeral's Saturday. The funeral was everything I'd expected. Expensive, well-attended, full of people who'd known the version of Dad I'd lost at 12. Jennifer delivered the eulogy, sobbing about the man who'd supported her dreams, who'd never missed her important moments. I sat in the back, Marcus's hand in mine, and felt nothing. Patricia played the grieving widow perfectly. Rachel comforted her mother. Jennifer accepted condolences like a professional daughter. The 3 of them, united in their grief, in their loss of this man they'd gotten to keep. I left before the reception. 2 weeks later came the call from Harrison and Associates. "Ms. Chen, we need you to come in regarding your father's estate." I almost didn't go, but curiosity won, or maybe it was the closure I was seeking. The conference room was all leather and wood, the kind of place that smelled like money and old books. Patricia sat at the head of the table, Jennifer and Rachel on either side. I took a seat near the door, ready to leave with whatever token amount Dad had deemed appropriate. The lawyer, Mr. Harrison, silver-haired and precise, opened a thick folder. "Thank you all for coming. Let me be direct about Robert Chen's last will and testament, updated 6 weeks before his passing." He adjusted his glasses. "The estate includes the family home, valued at $1.2 million, his investment portfolio worth approximately $3.8 million, his retirement accounts totaling $900,000, and various other assets. The total estate value is approximately $6.4 million. Patricia nodded, confident. Jennifer's hand reached for her mother's. Robert's instructions are explicit, Mr. Harrison continued. To Patricia Chen, his wife, he leaves the amount of $100,000 and the right to remain in the family home for 6 months, after which it will be sold. Patricia's face went white. What? To his stepdaughters, Jennifer and Rachel Martinez, he leaves $50,000 each, with a note thanking them for bringing joy to his later years. Jennifer's mouth opened. No sound came out. Mr. Harrison turned to me. To his daughter, Emma Chen, Robert leaves the remainder of his entire estate, the house proceeds, all investment accounts, retirement funds, and personal property. Approximately $6.1 million in total. The room spun. I gripped the armrest of my chair. That's impossible. Patricia was standing now, her voice shrill. He promised Jennifer. She was supposed to get everything, the business connections, the investments for law school. Mrs. Chen, I assure you the will is legal and binding. It was created with sound mind and… She abandoned him, Patricia pointed at me, her face red. She didn't visit, didn't care. We were his real family. Mr. Harrison pulled out an envelope. Robert left a letter for Emma. It may provide some context. My hands shook as I opened it. Dad's handwriting, still neat despite his illness. Emma, if you're reading this, I'm gone. Good. I don't think I could face you and say these things. I was a coward. When your mother and I divorced, I ran from guilt by building a new life, one where I could pretend I was the father I'd failed to be with. Patricia and her daughters were a fresh start, no past mistakes, no disappointments in myself. But I knew what I was doing. Every game I missed, every birthday forgotten, those were choices. I chose comfort over courage. I chose the daughter who reminded me of my successes, instead of the one who reminded me of my failures. Jennifer was easy to love. She needed nothing from me emotionally, just financial support and approval. You needed a father. That was harder. That required me to face what I'd done to you, to your mother. I'm not asking for forgiveness. I don't deserve it. But I wanted you to know I saw what I did. And in the end, the only thing I could give you was what I gave Jennifer all along, everything. You were always my daughter. Jennifer was my escape. I'm sorry I chose wrong. I'm sorry I kept choosing wrong. Dad. Tears blurred the words. I read it again, then again, my throat tight. Patricia tried to contest the will. It took 3 months and cost her the $100,000 Dad had left her. The court upheld everything. Jennifer stopped returning my emails, the few I sent trying to explain this wasn't about revenge. I sold the house, gave Rachel an extra $50,000. She'd always been kind to me in her quiet way. She cried when she got the check. The money sits in investments now, managed carefully. Some went to pay off Mum's mortgage. She cried too, different tears. Some went to a scholarship fund at University of Michigan for students from single-parent homes. I named it after Mum. Marcus and I got married last spring. Small ceremony, just family and close friends. Dad's chair stayed empty, but this time it didn't hurt the same way. Mum walked me down the aisle, and that felt right. I don't know what I expected to feel when I got Dad's inheritance. Vindication, maybe? Justice? Proof that I'd mattered after all. Instead, I felt sad. Sad for the father who chose comfort over connection. Sad for the girl who waited years to be chosen. Sad that it took death for him to finally put me first. But here's what I've learned. You can't inherit what matters. Love isn't in a will. Time can't be retroactively given. A parent's presence isn't measured in dollars. Jennifer got 17 years of a father who showed up. I got money and an apology written when it cost him nothing. She still got the better deal. But I got something else. I learned what not to do. When Marcus and I have kids, they'll never question whether they're chosen. They'll never sit at dinner feeling invisible. They'll never find out about family photos after they've been taken. My father gave me everything he valued. I just wish he'd valued the right things sooner. The inheritance wasn't the money. It was finally understanding that his choices were never about my worth. They were always about his cowardice. And that set me free. Sometimes the people who should love us most love us least. And sometimes being left everything means accepting you were given nothing when it mattered. That's not justice. That's just life teaching you what kind of parent, what kind of person you never want to be.